Hello and welcome back to Van Hormet's Supplier Highlights series. I'm AJ Crawford, the Marketing Manager. Today we have a very colorful presentation for you, and we're excited to bring you some new technology from the industry leader of DPP chemistry. CINIC Chemicals has been known for their high-performance pigments for plastics and coatings. The Pigment Red 254s, Yellow 110s and 139s, and Orange 73 are just a few. However, we're here today because they're expanding their portfolio into solvent dyes for engineered polymers. I'm happy to introduce their U.S. sales manager, Dave Keenan. Dave has been in the organic pigment industry for over 20 years and with CINIC Chemicals America for the last 10. Dave, I appreciate you taking some time today to introduce these new products. I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks, AJ. Firstly, I'd like to thank AJ and the rest of his team for making this video possible. Van Hormet has pretty much been a partner with us since our first presence in the U.S. in 2007, and we hope for many more years to come. I would also like to make an announcement to let everyone know that Alan Zhao has recently joined CINIC America as our new general manager. Alan has been with CINIC Shanghai for the last 8 years, holding positions in sales, marketing, and logistics. He and his family arrived in Pittsburgh late last year, and he's definitely a great addition to our team. Although AJ went through some of what we do, I'll give you a very brief introduction to CINIC as well. We are a leading global supplier of high-performance organic red, yellow, and orange pigments. We're the largest producer of DPP and anthraquinone chemistries, including Pigment Red 254, Pigment Red 264, Pigment Orange 73, and Pigment Red 177. We are also a growing world leader in yellow pigment chemistries, including Pigment Yellow 110, Pigment Yellow 139, and Pigment Yellow 109. We are very excited to announce we have launched a new product line and are looking forward to getting our foot in the door with new opportunities with our CINIPOL polymer soluble dyes for the coloring of engineering plastics. Today, I would like to introduce 3 core CINIPOL polymer soluble dyes in their colors red, yellow, and orange. And if you know anything about CINIC, this definitely seems to be our theme. I'll start with the differences between organic pigments, inorganic pigments, and polymer soluble dyes. All 3 are widely used in the coloring of plastics. The largest difference is dyes are completely soluble in the polymer at its processing temperature. The result is a solution of the dye with a molecular distribution in the polymer and a crystalline structure that is no longer noticeable. Contrary to dyes, pigments are completely insoluble in a polymer. Polymer-soluble dyes also require less shear to be dispersed and are transparent but can only be used in engineering plastics and rigid PVC. Polymer-soluble dyes are limited to amorphous polymers with a high glass transition temperature, which means they cannot be used in polyolefins or flexible PVC, etc. In general, organic pigments tend to be stronger but sensitive to high temperatures. Inorganic pigments are weaker but are usually not as sensitive to high temperatures.
Dave, I have a question for you there.
Sure. Yes.
If you go back to that slide, coming from a pigment dispersion background, we always have to add surfactants and things to keep the particles stabilized. What about dyes? Do you need to add surfactants to those? Are they necessary, or once they're dissolved, they're stable?
Good question. In general, there is no need to add surfactants to keep the dye stable. However, in the case of high dye concentration used in a single color dispersion, adding surfactant can be beneficial to distribute the dyes evenly throughout the polymer melt. Without the surfactant in those type formulations, it might cause color streaks due to poor distribution of the dissolved dye. Other additives like flame retardants, blowing agents, stabilizers, etc. are still needed depending on the properties that are required.
Okay, great. Thank you.
CINIPOL portfolio consists of high-quality polymer-soluble colorants that are suitable for various engineering plastics. The features of this range are high heat stability, outstanding brilliance and transparency, high color strength, good to excellent light and weather fastness, and they are also a great addition to our existing high-performance organic pigment line and will allow us to enhance our offerings to the plastic industry. Downstream applications for CINIPOL polymer soluble dyes are many, including textiles, packaging, automotive, household, and construction markets. And as you can see, they are versatile in many engineering resins, such as PET, PBT, PA6, PS, PMMA, and so on. Firstly, I'd like to introduce our red. CINIPOL Red DR2PS is a mid-shade solvent red 135 with good all-around properties such as excellent heat stability, very good fastness to light, weather, and migration. It can be used in a wide range of polymers and is a widely accepted industry standard red colorant for engineering plastics. It is REACH registered and FDA compliant for indirect food contact. HCBs are controlled to below 10 parts per million. DR2PS can be potentially used in nylon. Factors differ considerably in the context of use that may impact the coloring of nylon. Some of these factors are processing parameters, wall thickness of the final part, construction of the mold, and customer-specific requirements. This is a comparison of our DR2PS versus other industry standards in polystyrene, full shade, and TiO2 reduction. The DR2PS is slightly greener as well as slightly less saturated. Overall, with a DE between 1 and 1.7, we are well positioned against the other standards. Secondly is the orange, our CINIPOL Orange DJ2P. It is a Solvent Orange 60, which has the best light fastness and heat resistance for a polymer soluble dye in this color area. Its overall properties and high value in use make it suitable for almost every kind of downstream application. It is also widely accepted as an industry standard orange. REACH registration and FDA compliance for indirect food contact are underway. We should have those very shortly. Here's the comparison of our DJ2P to other industry standards. The DJ2P is slightly more chromatic and therefore we believe well positioned versus the other two industry standards. Lastly, CINIPOL Yellow DY5P is a mid-shade yellow pigment 147 with excellent light fastness and outstanding migration resistance. And you did not hear me wrong, Pigment Yellow 147 is an organic pigment, but when processing and coloring in certain types of polymers, such as polyester, it dissolves reasonably well in the matrix and functions like a dye. Our Pigment Red 177 anthraquinone also acts in the same way, which is also a pigment. Back to the DY5P is a preferred product of choice for the coloration of PET bottles and PES fiber applications. It is very much an industry standard, and it is also REACH registered and FDA compliant for indirect food contact. Here's our comparison of the DY5P versus the industry standards, with a delta E ranging from 1.1 to 1.5 in full shade. We believe we're also well positioned here.
Dave, what is the typical loading that you guys suggest or is normal for the industry, whether it's in master batch or like an end application?
The necessary dye concentration for the final parts or items is usually in the range of 0.01 to 0.1%, depending on the required intensity of the color. For fiber, that loading level can be as much as 10 times higher to reach this similar color density. So it's really dependent on how vibrant of a color you're after.
Okay. And then as far as supply goes, how do you guys stand with these three items?
We currently have stock in our local warehouse for the yellow 147 from our production. And we have material on the water for the other two, for the red and the orange, that are due to arrive by the end of this month July.
Okay. And you mentioned it, you hinted at it kind of at the beginning of the presentation that CINIC has always been known for the reds, the oranges, and the yellow color space. With these dyes, do you guys hope to expand into other color spaces at all?
Yes, I believe we will. We're rolling out these three to make sure that we have everything under control and we know what we're doing. And then in the future, add on where it makes sense.
Okay. Well, great. Do you have anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I would just thank you for the time to do this. And anyone out there, if they'd like to know more about our CINIPOL line or our Pigment CINILEX line, please visit our website at www.cinic.com or
Great.
contact Van Horn Metz.
Great. Yeah, I was going to say,
Yeah,
if
I forgot
anyone
to add
out
that part
there,
almost.
if anyone out
An
there is looking,
afterthought.
exactly. So if anyone's looking for
Right.
samples, SDSs, tech data sheets, feel free to head to our website at www.vanhornmats.com, where you can click the button in the top right to request those documents. Dave, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
It was a very interesting presentation, and hopefully we can help the market here in the U.S.
Perfect.